but it's just, for me, it's just good music, and it's beautifully written music, and especially lyrically for someone, like myself, who's a vocalist and sort of, I see it as my job to tell stories. The lyrical content that's involved in the music that we perform, I just think it's so incredibly romantic, and that old adage of that they don't write them like they used to kind of really rings true in that music. I just I think there's a few different preconceived ideas that it's difficult, but it's not. If you know what I mean.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 11 of 30 Minute Call, proudly produced by the Canberra Theatre Centre, right here on the lands of the Ngunnawal people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Yarn and hello, my name is Joe Gleeson, and I'm excited about this episode. I got to chat to Australian award-winning jazz vocalist Emma Pask. She has travelled all over the world. She's performed for some amazing people. She's supremely talented and also just a delight to talk to. I really enjoyed our chat. We got talking about quarantine, nicknames, Princess Diana, and sure, we chatted a bit of jazz music as well. So let's get into it. Emma Pask, this is your 30-minute call. She's on the phone with us right now, taking a break from, we'll find out shortly. Emma Pask, hello.
Hey Joe, how you going?
Good. Thanks for having a chat to us.
Mate, it's a pleasure. I've got a little bit of time on my hands, so it's okay.
That's good. I'm glad that we can steal a little bit of it. What have we actually dragged you away from?
Look, I would love to say you've dragged me away from organising that international tour that was coming up and all those string of gigs. Well, no, you haven't drawn me away from too much.
Okay.
I mean, I jest and I say that with a smile. If we were talking 6 months ago, I don't think I would have been so jovial about it. But I think because time's passed and, there's just not much else we can do, that you have to just get on and maybe make light of it where you can.
Yes, something that we're not bad at in Australia. Yeah, taking the mickey out of ourselves and go, oh, well.
Indeed.
On we go.
Yep, on we go, exactly. Yeah, so look, today, I mean, I have to be thankful I was able to get up today. I was able to go into the ocean here at Bondi where I live and have my daily ocean swim and catch up with the mate who's just got out of quarantine, coming back from the States.
Yay.
Which was really cool. We had to see her. It's her birthday today, so we had a little hang on the beach. And then, I mean, in all seriousness, jokes aside, I am actually thinking about getting some prep done for next week when I'm going to be in Canberra. So.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. Not too far away from your gig here in Canberra, and we'll definitely talk about that in a little while. This is a weird question, how did your friend find quarantine?
Well, I had a few friends. This is one friend, and there was another two friends of our friends that were in quarantine, the same hotel in the same time frame that she was in.
Yeah.
And so, look, these friends of mine are also in the arts. They're actors and writers and creatives, and so they had an okay time. I mean, look, it was 2 weeks. They knew what they were heading into. And they made the most of it, and we helped them as much as we could. We'd drop off care packages, and
lovely.
And from the street we'd look up and wave, and we'd film each other on Marco Polo or FaceTime and have a chat. And I mean, look, how did they get on there? All right, one of them, there were so many things that rules and regulations about things you could and couldn't have in your rooms, and there was no continuity between rooms about what you could and couldn't have.
Oh, right.
And so this one girlfriend of mine, they weren't allowed to have a toaster, and so she was ingenious. She'd been watching lots of episodes of Alone, that survivalist show where you get left in Patagonia to fend for yourself for like as long as you can. And so she was getting into that. So she was steaming her toast from the kettle to soften the bread, and then she was toasting it on her iron.
No, what a legend!
That's how she'd have her toast. She's a total legend. Yeah, I could tell you who she was, but she's way too famous, and she probably wouldn't like me admitting her trade secrets. Yeah,
that's even more intriguing now. Amazing.
I know, right? I know.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's fun.
Well, we'll get to some name dropping soon because I want to have a chat about some of the people that you've chatted to. The other thing I wanted to, before we get into the really serious stuff, what did your friends call you at school, Emma?
What, like a nickname or something? Or, I'm Pasky.
Pasky.
Yeah.
See, I had
Pasky.
money on Pasky.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever get pesky when you were being a bit of a rascal?
All the goddamn time.
Seriously?
All the time. Pesky. I still get pesky all the time.
Yeah. That is the best, because I, for no reason at all, just because I thought it sounded cool when people were talking about your show coming up, I go, oh, pesky pasky's coming up. That's exciting.
Oh my
there you
God,
go.
you're hilarious. Yeah, you nailed it. You got to do one. Pesky.
God, you have no idea how happy I am about that. So let's talk about you and how you were, in sort of inverted commas, discovered by James Morrison when you were 16.
I know.
You've been hanging out with him. You must be sick of the sight of each other for like 20 years now. You guys, you must get along really well for being, working together for that long.
Yeah, I mean, we do. We did. We don't spend as much time with each other now in the last sort of 5 years.
Yeah.
We haven't. I've kind of not gone off, but I've kind of come out from under his wing, so to speak, and really focused on my own kind of career. But for that solid 20 years, from 1995? No, 1994.
Wow.
It was. He was like, he took on a role, I guess, for me. The way I look at it, it's like he'd hate me saying father figure, because it definitely wasn't that I have a great dad. It was like a big brother. He kind of took on that big brother role for me, I think. And, from 16, it was, he was the guy that I went to for everything, really. I was spending so much time with him on the road. So we were, chatting about all things life, and he was very much a life coach to me as well as a musical mentor.
Oh, wow.
And we had a great old time. If I look back on that time of those 20 years, we certainly covered some ground geographically. We went to so many places and experienced so many things, and then just musically growing with him and next to someone like him was pretty amazing for me. It was an incredible opportunity.
Yeah. So were you singing jazz back then when he first stumbled across you?
I was,
Yeah,
I
right.
was in high school, and when I sort of started in high school, that would have been 1990. I had a really fabulous, another kind of big brother character in my life too, my music teacher. He started teaching at the school that I started attending. It was his first gig, sort of fresh out of uni, as a music teacher. And my first year of high school, and we clicked as well, and he kind of, I guess he bought out my passion and sort of discovered that I had a passion for jazz and big band, which he loved. And he sort of nurtured that interest of mine in jazz too. And so when it came time for him to put a school band together, like a stage band, he asked me if I want to have a crack at singing with the band, and I was like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Apparently I was one of those kids he often tells people that, he'd come in each week to class and be like, okay, we're going to have a go at the guitar this week. Who wants to try? And, me, Pask, I was like, oh, I will.
Oh, come on,
and then
Pasky.
next week, yeah, come on, Pask, have a go. Piano, oh, me, oh, cello, oh, me, oh, I was just a bit of an eager beaver and just loved having a crack at anything. And so, singing in the band was like, yep. I was playing tenor saxophone. That was my other instruments.
I had a crack at tenor saxophone for about a month or something before I went, oh, this is really hard. And
oh, so hard, but I loved it. But
it's cool,
so hard. And there was no chair available in the school band, so it was singing for me. And I soon realised that was totally all right, because I bloody loved doing that as well. It was really cool.
And you
so I was very much singing.
So you liked the being up the front and sort of interacting with the audience and that sort of thing, because that's
the Primadonna days started early. No, I actually, if I tell you the truth, and I know you may find this hard to believe, many people would find this hard to believe now, but I was quite shy in the beginning and a bit sort of terrified.
Yeah, right.
But I kind of really dug that thrill of like being, sort of running by the seat of your pants kind of thing. Like, oh shit, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway, and here we go. Oh my God. I really was terrified but excited at the same time by that stuff.
That's really cool.
So I would have been doing that for about maybe 3 years before James came along, like 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, and then he came along.
Yeah. Are your folks musical?
They have a love of music.
Yeah.
My mum has a really beautiful ear for music. She's just got a great sense of pitch, and she absolutely knows every sort of jazz standard under the sun. She knows all the old show tunes, and Dad's a bit of a rock and roll kind of lover. He loves Bill Haley and the Comets, that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
And, also he's a Rolling Stones fan, and he's also a Beatles fan, and Yeah, so I kind of have an eclectic mix of stuff growing up, but they're not musicians, no.
Yeah, right. Time to get into that name dropping that we were talking about.
Oh gosh, I don't have any. Do I have any?
You totally you have some of the best ones.
Jeez.
We'll start on the easy end of the scale. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, you went along to their wedding and performed the bridal waltz for them. What was that like? That would have been pretty cool. That was
It was really cool.
Back in 06.
It was so long ago, Joe. I feel so old when you ask these things because I'm like, shit, that was a long, long time ago. Yeah, it was. Did you say 2006?
2006, yeah. According to my sources, anyway.
Yeah, no, you'd be right. It was a long, and if you think about it now, because so much time's passed, it does kind of, and it was them and the audience the guests that were there were kind of, total movie stars. It does feel like, did that really happen, or was I just like having a dream that I was in a movie for a minute? It was kind of like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, but it was amazing. And it was. So I know this sounds crazy because they are huge, big movie stars, but it was such a beautiful, genuinely loving, normal wedding, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It was in a beautiful part of the world that I'm sure not many people or everyone could afford to get married in Manly, in this incredible place. But it was really genuine and quite lovely. And I remember meeting Nicole, after I'd finished singing, she came up to me and I had this moment with her. She's so tall and I'm quite short, and she's just got this, porcelain sort of princess look about her. She's so lovely to look at. And I remember her she was so lovely, and she was standing, because she's so tall, she had pulled up my hands, like, if you grab someone's hands when they're in front of you to sort of thank them. And she started sort of twirling my fingers around her fingers, like a circular sort of thing. And she's just, and I'm sort of in this daze looking up at her and her beautiful face and her sort of saying all these lovely comments. And I'm just like, oh my God, is this real life? I'm not quite sure what's going on. And it was so funny because what they'd asked me to do, or what I was singing the bridal waltz, like you said, but Keith being Keith, but I don't know him, but he seems like that larrikin kind of lovable character. Back then they requested Etta James at last for the bridal waltz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. But then he wanted to surprise Nicole during it. I'm sure I can talk about this now. I had to sign a confidentiality agreement back then to not talk about it. But it's been so long, I'm sure we can talk about it.
Surely.
And so halfway through, he wanted to surprise her by, like, we're singing this beautiful big band version of, At Last, My Love, like really swinging and sultry and ballad-like. Yeah. And then halfway through, he did this, like, DJ, like, waka, 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 scratch through in it, and it cut into, like, this country version of You Just Like Me Because I'm Good in Bed.
Oh, brilliant.
And it was so cool. And then she's laughing and like, embarrassed, and then they had this big sort of twist off and they're dancing, and then that cut off, and then we did the big At Last, that kind of, big note at the end. It was really funny and loving and just,
That's
hilarious.
Fantastic. That's so good.
Yeah.
Did he have some
really cool
country musicians performing at the wedding as well?
I don't think so, from memory. I'm scraping the memory barrel. I don't know. I know he played, I'm pretty sure he sang a song for her.
Nice.
I know that Hugh Jackman was there because he came up and said some lovely things to me afterwards. But I don't think he performed.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. It was pretty much, we did the bridal waltz and then we did this big band set, like a whole sort of 45 minutes of big band tunes for them to dance to. So I don't really recall too much else that went on.
Yeah. Oh, that
but it was
so good.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, super cool. Well, the name dropping continues and it gets better. Emma has performed for Princess Mary of Denmark and the late Princess Diana as well.
I know.
You must have been tiny.
Well, this was back in high school.
Right.
No, actually, was it high school? I think it was. It was year 12. So I'd already started working with James in year 11, and it was year 12. I'm pretty sure it was the year she came out to do the Victor Chang charity, and she was out for that. I still remember she had this beautiful mauve dress on with beautiful pearls, and we were asked to play for her at this function and sing the national anthem.
Wow.
And I was shitting myself because I was young, and And it's the national anthem. Like, for one, I didn't really love the song.
Yeah.
But also, it's a song that everyone knows, and if you get anything wrong, there's no hiding, you know, at all. And she was so lovely. She was so great. She was right in front of us, and we played it. We got through it, and she came over afterwards and shook our hands and thanked us, you know, little school kids. And all I remember about that really vividly is as she came over to us and she was leaning forward to shake our hands and said, you know, how great it was, and thanked my music teacher who was next to me too. She said something along the lines of like, you know, this is crazy, isn't it? And that she was talking about the sea of photographers that were behind her, photographing her as they were, you know, congratulating us. And we just sort of remember her just really demurely playing it down and making light of it, making us comfortable, you know, and not freak out. And I thought, wow, she's incredible. What a woman, you know. Yeah, that was
amazing.
Pretty cool.
What a great memory.
Yeah, I'm forgetting all about all these things. It's lovely having a chat to you because I haven't thought about this stuff for a long time.
Yeah, have a little reminisce. Yeah, that's cool.
I dig it.
Well, let's skip forward a few years. Back in 2013, you decided to have a bit of a crack at the second series of The Voice, and you were all over the screen for I guess a month or a few weeks or whatever it was.
I was going to say I was on there for a hot minute. Yeah.
What made you
cheeky hot minute?
What made you want to have a go at The Voice?
Well, it was around about that time. Like I said, it was coming up, I think, to be, you know, 20 years of working with James around that stage.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, you know, as much as I adored being by his side on the road and doing all these gigs and all these fantastic things. And in my mind, you know, I could have easily just plodded along for another 20 years and who knows what would have happened. But I think it was kind of at that point where I thought, gosh, I really, you know, if I want longevity here, which is what I imagine all of us want, or, you know, certainly the people that I hang out with and play music with, you kind of, you know, longevity is the thing you want. You just want to be able to be doing what you love for so long. I thought, I've got to do something for myself here, and I've actually got to sort of prove to myself that I can stand on my own 2 feet and do something like that, as opposed to always being with James, which I adored and loved, but, you know, and my band members, you know, in James' band too, when we were on the road touring, they'd always say to me, you know, you've got to go out and do this and that on your own. I was like, I don't know how, I don't know if I can. You know, I had that sort of certain little bit of insecurity about what I was doing, I think. And I still loved what I did, but it was very much, like sort of in a pattern of not really, you know, putting myself out of my comfort zone, I guess, is what I was after and what I was sort of craving. So, and the producers come to you, you know, that they scout a lot of talent as well as auditioning. Yeah. You know, people they don't know. So they came to me, and when they first asked me, I was like, no way, I'd never do anything like that, no. And then they kind of nicely just sort of kept coming at me going, you sure? And it will be like this, and, you know, you have to audition like everyone else, but, you know, blah, 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 and it'll be like blah, 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 and you'll be fine. And I just thought, oh, well, maybe this is the way to sort of start reaching an audience of my own kind of thing, as in stepping out from that sort of shadow of James, not the shadow, but you know what I mean? Like, sort of just, well, and also, not feeling complacent where we've been lots of places, you know, certainly you wouldn't ever think that everyone's heard of me or what I do or, you know, the music I love. It'd be a good way of kind of championing the music that I love and reaching a wider audience kind of thing. So there was a few factors that played part in why I did it. And I'm really glad I did. I mean, I was terrified at the time as well, even being sort of an accomplished singer. I was pretty terrified going on something like that.
Yeah, well, who's ever done something like that? It's a weird sort of experience.
It's very weird. It was very new at the time too. They'd only done one season, and the show was very much finding its feet. You know, I think many people didn't really know what it was or what was going to happen or how the beast would sort of grow into what it is now. But you know what I mean? It was very new and everyone kind of was working it out as we went along, I guess. And it was certainly an experience. I certainly don't regret it. I really appreciate the fact that I did it. And it's not that I'm saying that I love those things or I, you know, would recommend that everyone do it. Especially now, they sort of seem to have changed, I think, a lot from the earlier days or morphed into something different. But I really don't regret it. I love it, and I really appreciate what it did for me too. You know, I got some great exposure to many people around the country and internationally too, and met some cool people. And so it was fun.
You picked up a hell of a fan in Ricky Martin. He gushed about you, didn't he?
He did. He did. He was really sweet. He said some many, many lovely things. He was a nice guy.
Yeah. That's super cool. Super cool. Well, I think that's all the name dropping that I'm going to do for you. You've won the name dropping game today.
Hooray.
So I suppose during sort of The Voice, you're exposing people hopefully to, your love of jazz, and you would have come across a lot of people that don't really have much idea about jazz as an art form. What are some of those preconceived ideas that you're just not a fan of?
Yeah, I think that it's a difficult thing to enjoy or to understand or learn. I really wish people didn't have that kind of preconceived idea or thought about it. Because it can be, if you want it to be. Under the umbrella of jazz, there's so many subgenres within that scope. But it's just, for me, it's just good music, and it's beautifully written music, and especially lyrically for someone, like myself, who's a vocalist and sort of, I see it as my job to tell stories. The lyrical content that's involved in the music that we perform, I just think it's so incredibly romantic and meaningful and lovely, and that old adage of that they don't write them like they used to kind of really rings true in that music. I just I think there's a few different preconceived ideas that it's difficult, but it's not. Right. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Like you say, there are so many different, varieties that you can get around, and people should.
It can be, like you say, it can be really difficult. Like as in, there's a lot to study musically. If you're talking about wanting to be, a hardcore sort of bebop musician, and who knows all the changes and all the scales and all the modes and which is a huge part of music. Yes, of course.
That terrifies me.
But, I think it terrifies so many people. But it's not a prerequisite to be. You have to know all of that to like it or love it or enjoy other parts or other facets of the music. It just doesn't have to come into your realm if you don't want it to. Yeah. And if you do, then that's fascinating, and how cool. To go and explore and study and discover that side. But basically, we're all human. You can do and enjoy and experience what we want. We have a choice, and choices and decisions, and you don't have to, go down any road you don't really want to. If you hear something you like, I think, going back to what you're talking about with The Voice, it was like a lot of the feedback that I got. I didn't get to sing that much on the show, but the few songs that I did get to sing. The messages from people that would then go into music that I have recorded or things that I've created previously, and their feedback to me was that comment that I was reading so much back then was, I never thought I really liked jazz, but I really enjoyed listening to what you've done or discovering, and it's like, well, that's the kind of that's great. I love that,
How good.
But then having said it's certainly not for everyone, but
Oh, that's good. At least people were, having a bit of a crack at it and going, this is something that I enjoy.
That's right. Yeah, and they may not really know. I don't profess at all to be a great improviser. I'm really not. I'm a fan of listening to incredible soloists and great improvisers, and I as I say, I give it a crack myself. I don't think I'm particularly schooled and very well trained and good at it, but I love doing it, and I liked that people would say, even things like that we talk about. We don't really know what you're doing there, but I like the sound of it. And then they might go and pick up an Ella Fitzgerald record and say, oh, that's what, she's doing there, and I like that. And, you don't have to understand it to enjoy the sound of it.
Yeah, cool.
If it makes you happy or however it feels, then that's as enough as it has to be. It doesn't have to be anything else than that.
Yeah, well said. Anyway. Your performance that you did at the Sydney Opera House back in May, it was one of the first live streamed productions that they did.
It was, yeah.
What was that experience like? Huge, big house there at the Sydney Opera House, but going out to God knows how many people.
I know, full on, right? It was. What I'm saying about that feeling of going on The Voice, it was kind of a bit like that all over again.
Yeah, right.
If I think about it, how I felt at the time, I did feel incredibly. I was excited. I was overwhelmed. I was nervous. I was all of those things. And same when I'm speaking, for me, I speak from the perspective of my bandmates too. Like the four of us hadn't played a gig together since February this year. and, because everything had been sort of taken away from us. And on top of all that, on top of the physicality of not having gigs and being sort of not match fit, was the physical and emotional impact of not working, and not being able to work for that long. It really was, for me, realising the physicality of it, and the emotional side of it too. I was really overwhelmed that we had the opportunity. I was so incredibly stoked that they asked, me to do it. I was like, what? Wow. Would love to do it. It'd be great. But then, realising the weight of that, of it being the first one, and knowing that all eyes would kind of be on you, and you weren't necessarily feeling match fit, like I said before. And it was a mixture of feelings. I absolutely loved it, but I was really conscious of feeling a little skew-ish at the same time, if you know what I mean.
And then and such a big empty space as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
throw
looking
that on
out,
top.
that was the thing. Yeah, when you come out and you see an audience and you get, the audience is such a huge part of the energy of, what you receive from an audience when you perform. It gives you so much to work with. Knowing that we had to sort of conjure that energy between the four of us, which is very doable because the guys that I play with are just electric. I love them so much, and they are such incredible players that they fuel you, to be the best you can be, or always at all times. But you really had to rely on sort of just solely that, and we'd be finishing these huge numbers, or big numbers, and then it would be looking out to that sea of red chairs and to a dead space, dead sound. It was really confronting.
Getting to the end of the song and going, all right.
So, and we also had a time limit too. We had a 45-minute time limit to sort of stick to, with this big glowing green clock counting down our time to let us know.
Wow.
So it was all very, a lot of things going on. All your senses were firing at once, and it was magnificent. I mean, we had such a high when we finished it. We came off with such a high, and we're like, can we start all over again now, please? Now that we've done it, can we do it again? Because it was like a brand new experience, never having performed like in that way before. Like you said, with no one there in this beautiful theatre, iconic theatre. It was bizarre.
Very cool. Yeah. So during COVID, apart from, the heartache of being kept away from those audiences and having to reschedule and cancel gigs and tours and all that, have you had time to collect yourself and get those creative juices flowing?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. It's a really interesting thing to think about too, because I was just talking to that friend I was with today about it. I can't believe it's September already. September. This happened in March. It's just like we've blinked and it's here. But if you think about it, we've been through so much in these, last 6 months. And to be honest, I really wanted to, I think, and I still have the same feeling, because I don't feel like we're not out of the woods yet. We're still sort of in it, whatever, we're in it. But I would love to have, and I think about it often, I'd love to be able to stay at the end of it, I did this and I accomplished that. And I'm sitting here currently as I talk to you, Joe, and I've got a cello in its gig case sitting opposite me.
Yeah.
And I got it, from a friend months and months ago, and my plan was to sit down, and I've always wanted to get into the cello and start learning it. I've taken it out of the case 3 times and I just can't, and this is just me being honest and raving with you, I just can't get myself into a place where I feel relaxed and content to sort of delve into new things. I feel like I'm still in that sort of panic mode of what's going to happen and how's it going to turn out. And, I really wish I could relax and enjoy the time, but I haven't been able to. Yeah, that's me just being blatantly honest with you.
I don't think you're the only one, Emma. I reckon there's a lot of people that are still feeling like they're in a bit of limbo, and it's just kind of hard to find your mojo and there's a bit of funk.
Yeah, I mean, that's also, it's totally in a bit of a funk. I mean, that's true. That I guess that's putting a bit of pressure on myself too by learning a new instrument and doing something new. When you say, so that is a lot maybe, but even when you say getting my juices flowing, I mean, I hadn't been singing the amount that I do normally sing on an everyday, in normal life pre-COVID was so much that I'd always sort of be looking forward and trying to find that space to schedule in breaks where, you'd have 3 days of vocal rest. Oh, great, can't wait to shut up. That's what I remember thinking that often, like, I can't wait to shut my mouth for a bit and, stop talking to people or stop singing because I just needed a break. And now I'm like, I've had too much of a break and my mouth's been shut for too long.
I've got some things to say and some things to sing.
I've got some things to do, And, I had an album, I was sort of had this brand new album that I just sort of finished before this hit too. And my idea was to sort of creatively get that going for release, but financially it's been so difficult to be shedding money or putting money anywhere else at the moment than just into myself and my husband's living, and getting by. Yeah. So that sort of stuff, that creativity feels like it's been filtered. So if I'm honest trying to be more optimistic and positive about it, I am thinking that I'm feeling like a little bit of a shadows being lifted, and with a few gigs that are coming up, that things can start moving forward. And now I feel like the creativity and the juices are starting to flow a bit more now, because cool. I do see some kind of a light. But in this last 6 months, I have to admit that I felt exactly what you said. Like I was in a total funk, and I didn't feel like saying or doing or creating much. It was really difficult. Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed. This really. Yeah, it gets you in the mood for it. These next few things that you've got coming up. We've got, I've just seen that you've announced that you're appearing in the first ever Wagga Wagga Reignite Cabaret Festival. That's at the end of this month. Is that right?
Well, when I said to you, my agent just called me before we called. Yeah. Unfortunately, the Reignite Wagga Wagga Cabaret Festival has been postponed.
Oh no!
I know, it's such a shame. It's just that it's just not great timing for Wagga at the moment. It's the whole series is taking a postponement because of life.
Yes.
But I know. So, but no, Canberra is on fire. You guys are going nuts. I think we've got like a handful of tickets left, and that's something to look forward to for next week.
Definitely. Usually. Well, if you're listening to this before Saturday, the 26th of September, 2020, get yourself along to the Canberra Theatre website and get along and go and see Emma Pask and enjoy a bit of live music. Oh my God,
live music! I know. Look, we've had a dabble. There's been a couple in the last month. It's only really just started maybe a month ago. We did May, like you said, the Opera House, and then July or August, we did a club for the first time, Kevin and I, my pianist, and to 40 people. And my goodness, from both ends, from our end and the audience end, it was just like this huge release, it felt like, a release from both sides of like, oh, that's right, this is what it's like.
This is life. Yay.
This is life. This is what it can be. Yeah, give us more of that.
Yeah.
And I had a gig last week in Camelot up here in Sydney at this beautiful little quirky venue, and we just had such a cracker night. Everyone, the audience was on fire. I walked on the stage. I'd love to say this happens all the time, though, but I walked on the stage and everyone started cheering and whooping and I'm like, wow. We walked on before we'd even played a note, and I was like, you guys. I said, I'm going to take this round of applause. I said, I can totally tell you just haven't been out much lately, but I'm going to take it. And everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like we could have played anything. But I feel like I really do feel that optimistic kind of, positive thing coming forward. I really hope it. Yeah, I hope it just keeps getting better and better.
And as an audience member, I think you can take those experiences for granted sometimes. If you're able to go out and do whatever you want all the time, it's sort of like, oh, whatever. Yeah, here's another show.
Yeah.
I'll sit back and just let it happen. But how great.
I know, but when you've got the opportunity to get out, when it's been taken away from you and then offered back.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest too, Joe. You're like me, right? We really don't. I mean, I hope. I'm thinking you could say me. We don't want to be moving online and stuck in Zoom sessions and stuck in online streaming, do we? We really don't. I just don't. There has to be a resurgence of live music and theatre and arts. It will come back. It has to.
We want to see you in the flesh, Emma. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We totally. I mean, I'll keep my clothes on, I promise. But,
not that kind.
I know, right?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having a bit of a yarn to me and taking some time away. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate you being interested and wanting to have a chat. So it's great to talk about anything music and art anytime. I love it.
Yeah, no, thank you. EmmaPask.com if you want to find out more about her, find out about the new album and all that wonderful stuff. So Emma Pask, Pesky Pasky, I should call you.
Pesky Pasky. You can call me that. I'll let you.
Thanks for the chat.
Thanks, mate.